The crows cawed ominously in the gray sky as the metallic clank of swords echoed beneath, foretelling a storm of blood and steel. In the heart of the battlefield stood Hajin Cheon, the legendary assassin of the Divine Justice Alliance, facing a multitude alone. His eyes, sharp as a falcon's, burned with the fire of a man who had walked the path of death for 3 relentless decades. He raised his voice, taunting the gathering crowd of warriors to come at him all at once. His challenge was met with mocking laughter. They ridiculed him, claiming that slaying a few souls didn't make him immortal. A few. Hajin mused darkly. He had killed so many over the years that he had long lost count. Their blood soaked his past, their screams echoed in his dreams. His blade was a part of him now, forged in vengeance, baptized in endless death. As the crowd surged forward, the battle erupted. Hajin became a storm, cutting through the throng with the precision of a master sculptor. One after another, they fell. Their leader bellowed warnings, ordering them to hold their ground and not let Hajin pass. Though their numbers dwindled, their resolve held firm. Seeing their determination, Hajin spoke inwardly. For 30 years, he had been an instrument of death. Taking more lives didn't faze him, not when freedom lay at the end of the path. Suddenly, he performed an impossible feat as they swarmed him. He stepped onto their blades, using them as a platform to soar into the air. Gasps rang out. Power surged through him, his presence like a thunderclap in the storm. In that instant, they believed it. The legends were true. He was the strongest assassin alive. He was the Assassin King, Hajin Cheon. With a whirling slash, he created power rings from the force of his sword, crashing down like a tempest. Every warrior around him was struck down in a single, sweeping blow. Silence returned to the field, broken only by the wind and the dying breaths of those who had dared challenge him. Exhausted, he stood in the midst of corpses, his breath ragged. Yet even as his chest heaved, he sensed more enemies approaching. They had seen the toll the battle took on him, and thought him weak. He gritted his teeth. His blade, once gleaming, was now dulled by blood. Yet his enemies came, relentless and unmerciful. Peace was a dream denied to him. Raising his voice once more, he warned them, come any closer, and they would die by his hand. They ignored him. So he unleashed his sword again, creating the fatal power ring, and cut them all down in one strike. In the stillness that followed, a memory surged forth from the depths of his mind. A voice, laced with contempt, echoed in his thoughts. Someone had once told him that no matter how skilled he was, no matter the glory he amassed, he was nothing more than Seo Jin Dam's loyal dog, killing on command. That all this killing would curse his soul. That a man who takes lives so carelessly knows nothing of life. That his own life would one day be weighed against those he had taken. That thought sent a shiver down his spine. Pain flared in his side. During the earlier battle, an arrow had pierced his left abdomen. Blood trickled slowly, but his will to survive burned brighter than ever. He refused to die here, not before he tasted the freedom he had yearned for all his life. He had to reach a safe house nearby. There, an elixir awaited him, a remedy that would restore his strength and mend his broken body. With great effort, he forced himself upright. Each step was agony. His vision blurred. Hunger gnawed at him with cruel fingers. He had survived a week on only a few pieces of beef jerky. His stomach twisted, not just in pain but in longing for dumplings, for a moment of comfort in a world that offered none. Just as he let his thoughts wander, another assassin launched at him. Hajin was stunned. How could someone get so close without him noticing? The speed and force of the attacker were overwhelming. It felt like his sword could cut through the entire forest. Hajin realized who it must be. It was the strongest assassin from the central southern region called as Sovereign Death. He had anticipated pursuit by the Divine Justice Alliance. But never had he imagined that the elite 8 Iron Regiment from Iron Blood Fort would be sent. Yet even now, as blood drained from his body, he remained defiant. He taunted his foe, warning him that even if he managed to land a blow on him in this weakened state, it would not make him one of the top 10 great masters. Then, with a final surge of strength and precision, Hajin slashed through his opponent, killing him with a single, deadly stroke. Breathing heavily, he called out into the forest, his voice laced with grim amusement. If you're done watching, come out. A figure emerged, elegant and commanding. The Queen of Soaring Beauty. She stepped forward, her voice soft yet resolute. She said she was honored that he remembered her after all these years. It had been 6 years since their last meeting. Far away, at the battlefield's edge, the great elder of the Divine Justice Alliance, Il-ong Jong, received grim news from a convoy member. All the masters of Iron Blood Fort had been slaughtered. The elder's expression hardened. This was exactly what he had expected from Hajin. He was the Assassin King, peerless and untamed. With a voice like ice, Il-ong Jong ordered his convoy to follow the energy trail of the Queen of Soaring Beauty. He knew that where she went, they would find Hajin. And this time, they would bring him down, or perish in the attempt. The Queen of Soaring Beauty stood poised before Hajin, a mesmerizing figure cloaked in contradiction. Her presence was a beguiling paradox, graceful and radiant on the surface, yet beneath that serene exterior lay a coiled serpent, venomous and lethal. Her smile was warm, even affectionate, the kind one might reserve for an old friend or a long-lost lover. But that smile held edges, sharp and dangerous, like a blade wrapped in silk. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" she said softly, her voice melodic, familiar. And yet, it struck Hajin like a slap across the face. Her true name was Sojiogwak. The most would never know it. She had the appearance of a woman in her prime, glowing with youth, her beauty ethereal and undiminished by time. But it was all a deception. In truth, she had walked this world for over 60 years. Her secret was the subtle, forbidden art of face shifting, a technique that manipulated the body's energy to maintain the illusion of perpetual youth. It was mastery over decay itself. She remained enchanting to all who beheld her, but beneath that mask lived a predator who found peace only in the taking of life. Hajin, bloodied and fatigued, stared at her with disbelief etched across his face. Of all people, they had sent her. It wasn't enough for the Iron Blood Fort to dispatch the sovereign death after him. No, they had also unleashed Sojiogwak. That was how much they feared what he knew. That was how desperately they wanted him erased from the world. Even cornered and trembling from exhaustion, Hajin was not without defenses. He had been forged in pain and tempered in betrayal. Gritting his teeth, he raised his sword, the blade quivering slightly in his grip, yet still gleaming with resolve. Her lips twisted upward into a mockingly affectionate smile. "Really now?" she teased, tilting her head playfully. "I thought we were friends. How could you draw a blade against me, Hajin?" "We were never friends," he said coldly, his voice devoid of warmth. It was a truth chiseled from years of mistrust. Unbothered, she continued in a lilting tone, "You're barely standing. Just give up. It's pathetic, really." He gave a lopsided smirk. "How would you know unless we fight? Besides, I'm not afraid of an old hag who hides behind pretty illusions." The words hit their mark like daggers. Her smile faltered, eyes narrowing into slits. Rage flared within them like a firestorm. "Say that again," she hissed, "and I'll rip out your spine and wear it as a sash. I'll hunt you through the underworld just to kill you a second time." Hajin leaned forward ever so slightly, eyes gleaming with dark amusement. "How terrifying. Tell me, have you grown even more insecure about your age since we last crossed paths, you old hag?" A vein visibly pulsed on her temple, but to his surprise, the fury gave way to a sly grin. Something had shifted behind her eyes, curiosity, perhaps. "So it's true," she murmured. "The Divine Justice Alliance really did train you as their secret weapon. That's why they approached me. But this moment is far more fascinating than I anticipated. You actually killed them. All those top masters gone. You're even more valuable than I thought." She studied him now with deeper intensity. "I can feel it, the energy inside you. Your chi is alive, ancient. Your techniques, they're not from this era. No, they're relics. Sacred arts. Those only exist within the ancient sects. So that's what you've been hiding all this time." A cold realization began to settle over Hajin. "You're not here for me," he said slowly. "You want what I carry, the martial techniques of the ancient sects. That's your real mission." Her smirk widened. "Clever. You're sharper than most. I admit, I thought you were nothing but another blunt blade trained to kill. But you see the truth. I don't care about the Iron Blood Fort. And the Divine Justice Alliance? They can rot. I want power. And you have it. Tell me the secrets of the ancient sects, and I'll spare your life. Doesn't that sound appealing?" Hajin's laughter was low, bitter. Blood trickled from fresh wounds, but his spirit was iron. "Tempting? To a man who's already dying? You're not as good a liar as you think. Sojio?" Unfazed, she pressed on. "I know about the bloodworm. The cursed parasite they place in traitors squirming inside you, devouring your insides. You're dying, Hajin, but I can remove it. Help me, and I'll help you." He regarded her for a long moment, then laughed again, darker this time. "You think I'd ever believe that? That you grow a conscience once you got what you wanted?" She stilled. "You already know how to remove it," she said quietly. He raised his sword, and for a brief instant, the candlelight danced along its edge. "I mastered the extraction technique 5 years ago. I don't need your help, and I'd never trust a snake like you." He stepped forward. "Move, or die." Her expression did not flinch. Instead, it bloomed into something venomous. "I can see it in your eyes. You're serious. You want to kill me? Fine. If that's how it is, let's see who walks away." With a snap of her fingers, her nails lengthened into talons, gleaming and razor-sharp, curved like a predator's. The air thickened, charged with lethal intent. Hajin charged, his blade cleaving forward. The impact was cataclysmic. Steel met claw in a blast that rocked the chamber. Sparks and shockwaves tore through the air, distorting reality itself. When the chaos cleared, Hajin looked down. His arms, his legs, were gone. Blood gushed from the stumps. He collapsed, breath shallow, vision swimming, and in the haze, a familiar silhouette emerged. The great elder Il-ong-jong of the Divine Justice Alliance stood there, his expression unreadable. Why? Why was he here? The queen knelt beside Hajin, savoring the moment. Her voice was syrupy with cruelty. "You look so handsome without your limbs," she whispered mockingly. "But your head is still in my way." She raised both hands. Her claws descended in one swift, fatal arc. Darkness enveloped everything. As his life drained away, Hajin's final thought echoed like a fading prayer. So this is it. This is how I die. Not even a moment of peace. Not even one breath of the ordinary life I dreamed of. He had yearned for simplicity. To wake up without blood on his hands. To see the world, not as a battlefield, but as a place worth living in. But that wish was never granted, or was it? In the next heartbeat, consciousness returned, not in the broken shell he had just left behind, but in a new vessel. The boy's body. Thin, emaciated, weak. He lay on a simple bed in a dim room within the temple of the heavenly demon cult. The walls were unfamiliar, the air foreign, but the thoughts flooding this young body were not. They were his. The bitterness, the weariness, the hunger for freedom, the flame of survival. He had been reborn. And this time, perhaps, just perhaps, the life he had always longed for might finally be within reach. On the sacred grounds of the heavenly demon main cult temple, a man sat imposingly upon a grand obsidian throne, towering above the vast hall like a dark sentinel. The throne itself was hewn from ancient, accursed stone, adorned with grotesque carvings of demonic beasts frozen in eternal torment, faces twisted in agony, fangs bared in a scream that would never end. A thick cigar rested between the man's fingers, its burning embers flaring intermittently like the smoldering eye of a beast lurking deep within the shadows. Tendrils of smoke drifted lazily upward, curling and weaving through the chilled air like serpents of fate, as though unwilling to disperse in the oppressive space. Before the throne, bowed low in submission, knelt an old man draped in flowing white robes. His frail frame trembled slightly, his hunched back bent with age and humility. His forehead nearly kissed the cold, polished obsidian floor, his entire posture radiating deference. His voice cracked with reverence and fear as he offered the customary salute. All glory to the cult. He inhaled deeply, steadying his nerves, and then slowly lifted his gaze just enough to speak. "My lord," he began, his tone heavy with grief, "I have thoroughly examined the young master. Pardon my earlier words. What I meant was..." Riang Seo. The Grand Master, unmoving, regarded him with an expression carved from ice. Not a flicker of emotion passed through his cold gaze. The physician's next words quivered in the heavy stillness. "He will likely not live through the night." For a moment, time seemed suspended. No breath, no movement, only silence so thick it pressed against the skin. Then, like a ripple across still water, amusement glinted in the master's eyes. A slow, deliberate smile curled across his lips. He exhaled deeply, letting loose a cloud of smoke that rolled through the hall like ghostly mist. "So," he murmured, his voice laced with something between satisfaction and prophecy, "it's happening even more effortlessly than I had imagined." Far beyond the reach of the waking world, suspended somewhere in the ethereal space between dreams and fading memories, Hajin stood still. Around him stretched a battlefield long forgotten, an accursed ground soaked with blood and steeped in sorrow. The sky above was a tapestry of darkness, smeared with thick, crimson clouds that bled light like festering wounds. The air was heavy, almost suffocating, tainted with the bitter tang of death, fire, and old pain. Bodies littered the ground in every direction, warriors, brothers, enemies, all fallen alike. Their eyes, glazed and lifeless, stared up at the sky as though seeking answers that would never come. Beside Hajin stood a boy, small in stature and ghostly in presence. His face bore a familiarity that tugged at Hajin's chest, like a name just on the edge of remembrance. The boy turned, his gaze calm and searching. "Did you finish the task?" he asked. Hajin's voice emerged, hollow and empty. "Yes, I killed them all." The boy nodded, expression unreadable, as if trying to understand a pain he could not express. "Let's rest for a while before we leave." Hajin glanced at the bodies once more, then to the distance. "We must be quick. The masters will notice if we delay." It was then that he noticed something curious in the boy's hand, a small bird, delicately carved from pale wood. No larger than a child's palm, its wings were outstretched mid-flight, frozen in the moment of ascent. "What's that?" Hajin asked, perplexed. The boy's eyes softened. "A dream," he whispered. "Don't you ever feel frustrated? Taking lives every single day, always surviving, never living. It's not life. I want to escape to a place of quiet. A green countryside where there's peace and no killing. Like this bird, I want to fly far away, to be free." For a moment, just a breath, Hajin's battle-hardened expression cracked. "I wish for that too." But the boy's eyes turned somber. "No, You can't wish for it. Why not? Hajin demanded. The boy opened his mouth, lips parting to speak, but no sound came. Only a look of unbearable sorrow, as if he carried a truth too cruel to be spoken aloud. Then chaos. A flash of light. A scream split the air. Blood sprayed like ink across a torn page. The world fractured. The boy lay lifeless, eyes wide in shock, the small bird still clutched in his hand. Hajin stood frozen, paralyzed, as towering figures stepped into view. The masters of the Divine Justice Alliance loomed above, their eyes merciless, faces etched in contempt. This is the price of betrayal, one declared. Before Hajin could resist, Pan seized him, forcing something into his mouth, a writhing creature, pulsing with malevolence. The cursed bloodworm. Pain, excruciating, soul-rending consumed him. Another memory surfaced through the torment. The queen of soaring beauty stood above his broken form. His limbs were shattered, his body mangled beyond recognition. She gazed down, not with pity, but with cold detachment, her voice sharp with disdain. Your head is still in my way, she sneered. Let's fix that. Her claws gleamed. Hajin screamed, and awoke. He bolted upright, gasping for breath as though emerging from deep waters. His hands clutched silk sheets, fine and luxurious, alien to his touch. He blinked rapidly, his mind racing to comprehend the ornate ceiling above, adorned with golden patterns that twisted and danced like dragons across a celestial canvas. His heart pounded. Where was this place? He remembered death, the pain, the betrayal, the bloodworm. And yet, he was alive. A voice broke through his disoriented thoughts. Soft, careful, from beyond a set of grand doors. Young master, I'm coming in. The door opened with a creak. A maid entered, composed and carrying a tray of medicine. But the bed was empty. Before she could react, Hajin was behind her, fast as a striking serpent. A wooden stick, taken from the incense holder, pressed lightly but decisively against her throat. Who are you? He demanded, voice edged with lethal intent. She flinched but held firm. I'm your personal maid, Manhwa. Liar, he snarled. Tell me the truth. What is this place? What have you done to me? You've been unconscious for 6 months, she answered quickly. You collapsed due to chi reflex. The physicians said your meridians shattered. They feared you wouldn't wake again. Chi reflex, he repeated. That's impossible. I swear it's true, she pleaded. Everyone feared the worst. But 2 days ago, while I was preparing your medicine, you opened your eyes. He hesitated. Something in the room caught his attention. A mirror. He turned slowly, cautiously, to face it. The face that stared back was not his own. Pale, sunken cheeks. Lifeless eyes. He recoiled. Who am I? The truth struck like lightning. He had died. But his soul had survived. He had been reborn. Trapped in this fragile, failing body. Panic overtook him. He threw the doors wide and stormed into the corridor beyond. The sight was breathtaking, a grand hall lined with massive crimson pillars, adorned with carvings of gods and demons locked in eternal struggle. Blue flames danced in lanterns that cast flickering shadows on the polished floor. His steps echoed loudly. Two men turned a corner and froze. Is that? One murmured. Their eyes widened in awe. They dropped to their knees. All glory to the cult, they cried. Congratulations, young master, on your recovery. In that moment, realization crashed over him. He was in the heavenly demon cult. A name whispered in fear and awe across the martial world. Deep within the temple's innermost sanctum, another man walked in solemn silence. His robes whispered across the stone floor. At last, he stood before a chamber sealed with ancient sigils, glowing faintly crimson. Inside, cloaked in shadow, sat the Grand Master. The visitor bowed deeply. I seek an audience. The master nodded. I am Dammu, Grand Guardian of the defense team. The man introduced. Speak. Dammu's head lowered further. The young master, the third prince, has awakened. The master raised an eyebrow. Truly? Yes, my lord, Dammu confirmed. But his meridians are damaged beyond repair. He will never again wield martial power. The silence that followed was colder than death. Then, the master's voice thundered, final and immutable. Do not report to me again for 3 months. Dammu clenched his fists, fighting back emotion. Yes, my lord. As he turned to leave, he whispered under his breath, a prayer to gods he no longer served. May the young master rise and become our next great master.